is President Donald Trump.
He said, I am no longer going to allow the American worker to be taken advantage of.
Any of your favorite Trump campaign people are on the new app called Parler.
These sort of deep state, DC swamp creature, former intelligence people, all this nonsense, pushing back on Trump's agenda, which is putting America first.
I am here as your president to proclaim before the country and before the world, this monument will never be desecrated. These heroes will never be defaced.
On this wonderful day, we celebrate our history, our heroes, our heritage.
On Independence Day, I took a moment just to really appreciate and thank law enforcement for the job they do.
We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
And we will make America great again.
Good evening, Wisconsin. We're here with a great group of patriots in Waukesha County. My name is Mercedes Schlapp, and we want to welcome you to Women for Trump's On the Road to Victory. And with us tonight, I've got such special, fabulous, strong women guests. But first of all, I want to introduce my dear friend, Katrina Pierson, Senior Advisor for President Trump's re-election campaign, part of the original crew from 2016. Now, we also have Representative Janelle Brandgen from Wisconsin State Assembly, who's been such a wonderful host. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
And of course, our fabulous Lieutenant Governor, former Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, Rebecca Clayfish.
Welcome to Wisconsin.
You should still be the Lieutenant Governor.
Not under this governor. I'm actually okay being right where I am, supporting the right side of the political line.
Yeah, and we were just having this conversation. The Lieutenant Governor has got to get to her kids. So I know you have a lot going on between the girls and getting to the other event. It's a typical life of a mom, right?
It kind of is the typical life of a mom, which is why this election is so important. There are so many moms counting on these electoral results because America matters.
And Katrina, you've been here all day. What are your initial thoughts? Let's start from there, being here in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin is beautiful. It really is beautiful. And I remember being here in 2016. It was really cold, but it was beautiful.
It's really hot today, by the way.
Well, I'm from
Very
Texas,
hot.
so that's
Florida.
not as bad, but still, it was really beautiful. And I really loved meeting the people who were coming out to see us. And it was just very reminiscent of 2016, that moment in time when everyone counted Trump out. Everyone said it'll never happen, and he wasn't serious. And everywhere we went, including Wisconsin, a state that our opponent did not step one foot in, but we were there, and we met everyone, and people are coming out today and following the trail, and we're just really excited to be here. It's our first event, really, since this pandemic.
It is, and this is our second on the road, right?
Second on the road, yeah.
But being here in Wisconsin has been so great. In fact, we've had such an incredible experience, and Janelle, you've taken us, we've spent some time with these wonderful women small business owners, and they were sharing their story.
Well, what's so amazing is President Trump is really about small business, and that's the backbone of our economy. In Wisconsin here, having women in business really makes the difference between having President Trump moving forward for the next 4 years, guarantees that we'll have a strong economy.
But I got to ask you, where's Joe Biden, or where's Hunter, for that matter?
They're still in the bunker. I've read that they are embracing the bunker strategy now, the entire side of the Democrat Party. So it's going to be kind of interesting. We know that there was a virtual appearance. They were scheduled to actually have their DNC, their convention in Milwaukee. Didn't happen.
Oh, it didn't happen. You're right. I'm wondering if Joe Biden would show up to Wisconsin, would he know that he's in the state of Wisconsin? I don't know. You tell me. But over the course of the last 2 months, the U.S. economy added more than 7 million jobs. That is absolutely amazing. And truly what we've also seen is with the Paycheck Protection Program, which in talking with the women small business owners, they were all saying how it really saved their small businesses. You know, in fact, you're talking about here in the state of Wisconsin, the Paycheck Protection Plan saved about 800,000 small businesses. That is very significant, and it just shows that the president is very much committed to this American comeback in this great nation and seeing American comeback in action. So, Lieutenant Governor, let me ask you first. You have seen firsthand what President Trump has accomplished in your state. Why do we need President Trump to win again in 2020?
Well, I think it really is about jobs and the economy. We've heard so many times that mantra repeated in the media, but it's very true. I mean, from coast to coast here in Wisconsin, and of course by that I mean from Lake Michigan all the way over the Mississippi River, these jobs are what people are talking about. And we've had a pause pressed on our economy. No one is thinking for a second that the economy is going to come all the way back right away, but if we have any chance, any shot at continuing to make America great, we need a president like the one we have, who has this type of leadership experience. That's not what we're going to get with Joe Biden, who we've seen embrace socialist policies from the get-go of the Democrat primary. Yeah. That's dangerous stuff. We need to stay on the safe side and the right side of history and re-elect the president.
Yeah. And Representative Brangen, you have worked on the local level through this pandemic. I know the pandemic has impacted all of our lives, but why is it important that that President Trump, he's taken such bold actions during the coronavirus pandemic, working with state and local officials, working with the private sector, with the federal government? How has he been a bold leader during this very difficult time that all of us are facing right now?
Well, you know, on the local level, unfortunately, our governor has not done the same job that our president has. The president came through with those PPP loans, and they were in people's hands quickly, efficiently, and there's a great turnaround, both level 1 and level 2. And I hate to say, unfortunately, in the state of Wisconsin, I still have 140,000 people that have waited 4 months to get their unemployment checks. And that's the difference between Republican leadership and not.
And we see, Katrina, where states are slowly trying to reopen their economy. They're trying to get back to work. They're also obviously dealing with the balance of the pandemic. You know, why do you think the president has been so forceful in saying, look, we got to reopen our schools, get our kids back to school. At the same time, we got to reopen the economy safely. Mortality rates are down. I mean, give me your reaction on that.
Well, I mean, the president has stated very clearly that we can't let the solution cause a bigger problem, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, when we look at what was happening and you drill down into the family dynamics and you see, you know, child abuse on the rise, you see suicides increasing, it's doing some damage. So it's time to get back to reopening the government. But the lieutenant governor said something I thought was interesting. She said that we didn't expect us to get back on track right away. But if you compare to what the Democrats were saying and to what all of the economists were saying, it was going to take us another 18 months before this recovery began, and it's beginning. The comeback is on its way. The numbers for jobs have gone up, historic again, just in the last month. And so I think that President Trump has definitely been a man before his time when it comes to predicting things, particularly for our country, and the solution cannot be worse than the problem or cause more damage than the problem, which we did start to see happening. And look, my state of Texas, we were one of the first. You know, people are free in this country. And we've seen in some blue states and some blue districts where there's been a massive overreach, which was causing even more damage to the population. And so it's time to get back on track. It's time to get our kids back in school and give our children some sense of normalcy again.
Yeah, and Lieutenant Governor, how beneficial has President Trump's pro-growth policies been in maintaining and growing businesses here in Wisconsin?
I think they've been tremendous. I'm on a bank board, and one of the things that you look to, not just in politics, but in general, is the economic indicators. And you see how the stock market immediately responds every single time the president comes out with some sort of statement or some new policy. Having the private sector help in the distribution of the PPP was incredibly smart. We saw the opposite here in Wisconsin when our governor ran into a whole bunch of walls, and we see people suffering, having to ask friends and family members for loans in order to just pay their mortgages or their electric bill because they're not getting connected with their unemployment insurance check. And so the president takes the right tack because he has the right experience for this moment in history.
That's a great point. And, you know, speaking of the economy, we know Joe Biden has supported the failed NAFTA deal. It cost Wisconsin hundreds of thousands of jobs, destroying manufacturing industry in the process. But we know President Trump has stood on the side of let's renegotiate the trade deal, come up with USMCA. He just met with the Mexican president this past week, where the Mexican president praised the president for the work that they've been able to do together. So, Representative Branchin, from what you saw, how devastating was NAFTA to the Wisconsin economy, knowing that Joe Biden thought that this was a great legislative victory under his belt, but we know it's been disastrous?
Well, I'm going to tell you that NAFTA was, you know, we're dairy farmers here, and cheese and milk. We also manufacture products, and we're looking at billions of dollars for the state of Wisconsin that we export to Mexico and Canada. And those turn into real life jobs, not only for your family, but that is a trickle down that means in our pockets that we get to go home with a better paycheck. I cannot tell you how important it is that we now are in a situation where Wisconsin is competitive again.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And Katrina, Joe Biden, you know this, you love this. He's the ultimate globalist, okay? Friend to China. Hunter might even be the ambassador to China for all we know. Why should we fear a Biden presidency?
Yeah, we have a new name, right? It's going to be Globalist Joe.
Yes.
Because he really wants to restore the globalist status quo. He's made that very clear on a number of occasions. You know, China, no big deal, they're not a threat. You know, remember when he said that, Mercy? But the other thing, too, is you can't forget about the speech that he gave on the Senate floor back in 1993 praising NAFTA, saying it was the greatest thing in the world, and then it decimated the middle class and shipped hundreds of thousands of jobs to Mexico, China, India, you name it. And then he came back and praised the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would have done a lot more damage, who still supported it when he started running in 2018. So the globalist agenda by far is really what we're fighting. It's what President Trump is fighting. It's this whole notion of America first. Now, we talked about TPP, we talked about NAFTA. Let's talk about the Green New Deal, right? Cows, dairy farmers.
They fart in Wisconsin.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens to Wisconsin under, and that's the first thing Joe Biden wants to do. He wants to take back the tax cuts and implement the Green New Deal, killing millions of more jobs. So Globalist Joe is my new name for Joe Biden, whereas President Trump has focused on American families, American jobs. He's brought back 7 million jobs. And I was there in those green rooms in 2016, in those CNN, MSNBC green rooms.
The lieutenant governor knows what a green room is.
Exactly. And they laugh.
It's where you sit. Explain to them what a green room is. You got to explain it.
The green room is where everyone goes to sit down before you go on TV.
There you go.
Okay? And when you sit there, you get to interact with the people who really hate you. And then when we talk about whether it's Pennsylvania or bringing back manufacturing jobs, because Barack Obama said you'd have to have a magic wand to bring back manufacturing. And what do we say now? Abracadabra, baby.
That's right.
It has happened. Right. But in this green room, they laughed. They said he'll never be able to bring back manufacturing jobs. And here we are. President Trump has proven that not only can you bring back manufacturing, but if you put America first, you can bring back not just jobs, but prosperity and happiness and contentment and hope for the future.
Right, and we talk about the globalist Joe, but there's also the socialist Joe because he's so closely linked to Bernie Sanders. Big concerns about how Joe Biden has had to embrace the far left to survive in his candidacy.
Mercy, I'm terrified about this one. I think we as Republicans need to start using the truthful language of socialism because we are seeing that type of thing fall into and under their entire healthcare umbrella with all of their policies. I have had cancer. I have half a colon. And the idea that I would one day, under those healthcare policies, be told to stand in the back of the line in order to get my healthcare, when I feel like I have a lot more life to live and a lot more time to give, just doesn't sit well with me. And I know that I'm not the only one in America and the only one in Wisconsin with a pre-existing condition who's deathly afraid of what socialist medicine means. This is what Joe Biden and the entire Democrat team stand for today. And that is scary policy for anyone who has a pre-existing condition, anyone who wants access to the finest health care in the world in the United States, and I would say in the United States, here in Wisconsin.
That's a great point. And as we know, President Trump will protect pre-existing conditions. Don't let him ever tell you a different story, because that's what the Democrats are going to say. From his administration to his campaign, President Trump has always uplifted and empowered women. We're so blessed to have been working with President Trump and knowing all the great women who surround him every day. So to both of you, from your personal experience, I'll start with you, Lieutenant Governor. How have you seen President Trump elevate women and stand up for policies that matter to women?
Well, I love to see Kellyanne Conway out there every single day being an incredibly important part of the administration and advisor to the president. On top of that, fellow Midwesterner Betsy DeVos out there fighting for school choice, and we are the school choice originals here in Wisconsin. Right. And so I'm really excited about that, because equal opportunity means equal government schools. You got to make sure that the government is paying for good education for all children, regardless of zip code. That's what school choice does, and you see that in this Department of Education. But I've got to end with the Family Medical Leave Act and making sure that that was in his budget. And that's Ivanka Trump, and that's the leadership of women who have their mind's eye to what the real women of this country actually want and need. Do you remember that book that came out a few years back, and you saw one of the bigwigs at Facebook say we all needed to lean in?
Oh, yeah. Which
is great, cute, right? If you actually have the opportunity to have your husband stay at home and watch your kids while you're leaning in. There are a lot of American women who don't have that opportunity, but women are 4 out of 10 American households. That means women have to make decisions based not only on their finances, but also on their families, and they start to wonder, who's in it for me? Who's going to protect me and stand up for my family? And I feel like we found that guy.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And Representative, let me ask you a question. When you talk to independent women out there, women on the fence, what's your message to them about President Trump?
Well, I think you have to look at the facts. The facts are we have an incredibly strong economy. We have an incredible opportunity. The highest percentage of folks that are women, the highest percentage Hispanic, blacks, all have the highest percentage of jobs overall. And ultimately, that's about families. And families get that opportunity to move forward. The old story of the best social program out there is a good job. And that's exactly what Donald Trump has brought, not only to Wisconsin, but to the nation.
So, Katrina, let me ask you on school choice. This is obviously, for women, an important issue for so many families, especially for Black Americans, Latino Americans. What's Joe Biden's stance on school choice?
So that's a great question, Mercy, because do
you
know
have a great answer
that
for
just
it.
a couple of days ago, Joe Biden has come out and said that he wants to put teachers' unions first. Listen to that. Teachers' unions first. Not parents and children, not teachers and students, teachers and parents, teachers' unions. That should be the one reason that any American in this country who has children or who's thinking about having children should vote for President Trump.
That's right. And we want to thank you both, Lieutenant Governor, our representative, for being with us this evening. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
You have reached the 911 police emergency line. Due to defunding of the police department, we're sorry, but no one is here to take your call. If you're calling to report a rape, please press 1. To report a murder, press 2. To report a home invasion, press 3. For all other crimes, leave your name and number, and someone will get back to you. Our estimated wait time is currently 5 days. Goodbye.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
And welcome back to Road to Victory, Wisconsin. I'm Katrina Pierson, Senior Advisor to President Trump's re-election campaign, back with Mercedes Schlapp.
Hello, my dear.
We have had such an amazing day, and the next couple of days, actually, in the great state of Wisconsin. And now we are joined by our friends, Florida Attorney General, former Florida Attorney General, Pam Bondi. You'll always be the Florida Attorney General. That's right. And we also have the Women for Trump Advisory Board member, Penny Nance, as well as my sister, Mercedes Schlapp. Thank you both for joining Mercedes and I tonight. Tonight has been great. We have met so many amazing women, so many leaders in this state and supporters of the president. And I think it's been so amazing to hear some of their stories, and the volunteers that we saw earlier it just warms my heart to see how hardworking so many Trump supporters are out there making phone calls, knocking on doors. Even in the midst of the pandemic, we have people dedicated in Wisconsin to deliver Wisconsin to Trump once again in 2020. So let's talk about our opponent, Joe Biden. He recently told donors that he was going to get rid of the bulk of Trump's $2 trillion tax cut. And President Trump's tax cuts gave Wisconsin residents around $1,400 back in their wallets, which Joe Biden seems to think is, just change. You don't need it.
Or Nancy Pelosi's breadcrumbs.
Breadcrumbs.
That too.
Breadcrumbs. I mean, I don't know about you, but $1,400 goes a long way.
It does.
When you're living paycheck to paycheck, or when you have kids, or when you're a single mom. And so, Penny, I want to ask you this. How can Joe Biden think that the president's tax cuts are so negligible?
Well, I think that is so indicative of the fact that this man is completely out of touch with how the vast majority of Americans live, certainly the way that most American women live. $1,400 is more than rent. It can be a house payment. It's more than food for your family for more than a month, several months perhaps. When you're just worried about putting gas in your tank, you're worried about health care, you're worried about all the issues that moms struggle with in America, the idea that $1,400 means nothing is it just incenses me. But this is what we've come to expect from Joe Biden. When you live a life in which talk about privilege, right? Yeah. You put your son on your plane and go to China, and he comes back with bags of money, basically. I mean, it's nonsensical, honestly.
Yeah, we can't all be that lucky, right, to have a dad and fly around on Air Force Two and pocket, billions of dollars along the way.
And Hunter's still on the board of these Chinese Pam Bondi loves this topic.
Yes,
why
right,
give it to
answering?
Pam. Give it to Pam.
Exactly.
Give it to Pam.
So speaking of that, though, because this is real, $1,400 is a lot to the working family. So we're talking about providing for families, and we see that there is one person that benefits from that thought process, and that is Hunter Biden. So, Pam, what's going on there?
I know a little bit about Hunter Biden from the impeachment hearings, and we laugh about it, but it was so serious because they tried to impeach the President of the United States over something so ridiculous, one phone call, a perfect phone call, and they weren't successful. But what we managed to tell the American people was what Hunter Biden did in Ukraine. I mean, he was with an oligarch and took a fortune in money there. Then he flies to China on Air Force Two, and there was, denials about how many times he flew to China. And then I think finally it came out that he flew multiple times to China on Air Force Two, said it was an official trip with his father, yet he's meeting with a Chinese banker named Jonathan Lee. 10 days, he also arranges for his father to meet this guy in a lobby of a hotel, shake his hand, get a photo op with the vice president. Then lo and behold, what happens 10 days later? Hunter Biden strikes a multi-million billion-dollar deal with a Chinese equity fund run by this man. Unbelievable. And could you imagine if that guy was our president? Well, Hunter Biden would be loving it, wouldn't he?
It is corruption at its core when it comes to the Bidens, and they get away with it all the time.
It's the swamp. I mean, it really is the swamp. And it's the one thing that President Trump ran against. He ran against the corruption. He ran against all the backroom deals because the swamp only cares about themselves and their special interests.
That's right.
But now we have an opportunity with Trump to get him reelected to continue to fight this battle. And speaking of the battle, he has worked tirelessly to bring jobs back to our country. And Joe Biden has endorsed the Green New Deal. We mentioned that earlier, but let's really talk about what that means, because the Green New Deal sounds nice. We see, the AOCs of the world, willing to fall on this sword because they think that somehow this is going to solve all of the problems. But it's going to cost Wisconsin nearly 100,000 jobs. So Pam, and then Penny, I want you to weigh in this one too. So what does this say about a man who calls himself middle-class Joe?
Right. But $2,000 to middle-class Americans, that's negligible in his mind. I keep going back to that because I cannot believe he said that. I can't believe those words came out of his mouth. Well, and right, the Green New Deal sounds so nice, but let's talk about the fracking ban. He wants to impose a fracking ban. That could cost the people of Wisconsin over 300,000 jobs. 300,000 jobs. Then the Green New Deal, what does it do? Eliminates oil, gas, and coal. What does that do? 98,000 jobs are supported in Wisconsin by that. $8.7 billion back into Wisconsin's economy that the Green New Deal could completely wipe out. So does he care about the American people? No. Does he care about the people of Wisconsin? Absolutely not.
No, he cares about AOC. Since she gives him advice. Definitely. Wait, and Beto O'Rourke, who's going to be the anti-gun czar. Tell me how that's going to work in Wisconsin, people. It's like they're not going to go after our guns, and that's exactly what he wants to push for, is to make sure that us law-abiding citizens cannot carry our guns. If he's going to make Beto O'Rourke, these are his advisors. Bernie Sanders is his advisors. These are not moderates, people. These are not your grandfather's Democrat Party. These are socialist extremists, and these are Joe Biden's best friends, BFFs, as my 13-year-old would say.
Well, I think that all points to a fact that we've recognized for a while, and that is the transformation of Joe Biden is complete. Yeah. From earlier on in his career, when I was a young lobbyist and I was talking to him about the life issue and the Hyde Amendment, he's completely transformed and flip-flopped. Now he believes in all the things that he said that he didn't, including the Green New Deal, but things that social issues like the life issue and others, he's completely changed his position and has become a completely different person.
Well, and you've said that, and it's a late-term abortion, Penny, which you're very passionate about, this idea that Joe Biden would allow for late-term abortions, that he got the endorsement of Planned Parenthood. This is in contrast to President Trump, who has stood by the unborn, who has protected the unborn.
Exactly. Now Joe Biden has gone from being more moderate to being the man who wants to codify Roe v. Wade and does support abortion any reason, any time, any number, all paid for by the taxpayer. Right. So regardless of where you are on the issue, the vast majority of women do not want to spend their tax dollars on someone else's abortion. And the vast majority of women do not support late-term abortion. So he's been radicalized by the far left in his party. He's completely adopted their position and is now the abortion candidate, where this president has been the most pro-life president in my lifetime.
But has he changed, really, or is this just typical swamp behavior? You just follow the way the wind blows. I mean, do we really know where Joe Biden stands on anything, Pam?
Well, and I think the problem with that is, like what Mercedes just said, he is controlled by the radical left, by AOC, now Bernie Sanders, the whole socialist agenda. So this man who back in the day said he supported law enforcement, what has he shown for it in the 44 years he's been in office? Now he supports basically defunding our police, really restructuring the police. Our police officers are out there to protect us, not to go out and arrest people, to help victims of crimes. So what would this world come to? He wants to take away our guns. What about that Missouri couple, huh? They protected themselves. So he wants to take away their guns, and he also wants to take away the police where they can't come protect them. So it should be frightening to every American, really, what could possibly happen.
It's frightening, but that's to the point. Do we even know where he really stands? And I just don't think that we do. We saw every last one of the Democrat primary candidates raise their hand when they said they wanted to give free health care to illegal immigrants. Free health care for illegal immigrants. That means you pay for the health care of illegal immigrants in this country. You. Not only that, but he also supports a public option, which means we still have to pay. Now, unless you identify as an illegal alien, you'll get free health care. But this is so dangerous to have a man whom we really don't know his position, and we know now that he will choose whatever position that he believes can give him power. And this is what is so scary about a candidate like Joe Biden.
Wait. But Katrina, do you actually think he's going to know that he even has power? That's my question. Like, I don't think he's going to know.
He may not. Well, he may on some
They're
days.
setting it up for the VP to be the one to
Some
run
days
in
he may
the
know.
White House. Oh, some days.
Some days
Maybe
he may
just
know.
on Sundays. Who knows?
Yes. That's right. I mean, corn pops for breakfast one day, and then
Nap
maybe
at
the
2
next
o'clock.
day,
Yeah,
or not
I
so
got
much.
it.
But that's what makes it even more dangerous, because it's really not going to be Joe Biden leading the country. So the vice presidential pick is going to be something. And, back to health care, Penny, when we talk about, that's one of the number one issues across the country. Mercedes mentioned earlier about protecting pre-existing conditions, which the president actually put in his budget. No one wants to talk about that. Right. Pre-existing conditions are safe under President Trump. But what about a public option, Penny? What does that do to Americans?
Well, first off, I think it's important to recognize that 80% of healthcare decisions are made by women. We are we're the person in the family who makes sure people are healthy, make our husband, our children go to the doctor even when they don't necessarily want to. And so this is a top of mind issue for women. And so the issue of a public option really is so disempowering. Like, what we want our healthcare system to be the DMV. Basically, we want more government control as opposed to allowing us to thrive, allowing us to have better options and have the best healthcare in the world. I mean, in the United States, we have more choices. I hurt my back recently. I was able to go get an MRI in a day. I mean, if I were in Canada or another country, I'd be coming over the border to be able to do that here. I'd be waiting in Europe for months, perhaps. So we don't want our healthcare system to become, socialized medicine. We want to actually control our healthcare. We want to be able to have the best healthcare for our families.
We do, and Pam, let's draw from your experience as the former lieutenant governor. I mean, these are decisions. Attorney General.
I'd like her to be lieutenant governor at some point. I don't know, or governor at some point.
I know, right?
Come on, Pam.
Hey, let's talk about that.
But let's get the president reelected first. Then we can talk about your career later.
So your experience there, I mean, you had to fight some of these things at that level.
Well, I
Talk
did.
about that.
Florida, we were the lead state on Obamacare, and it's Obama-Biden care, by the way. Never forget that.
That's right.
And, that was before we had Justice Gorsuch and Justice Kavanaugh. So now I think we would see a very different result with conservative justices on the bench. But, President Trump's tax cuts repealed the individual mandate, which was so important. We were forced to purchase something simply because we were alive. And we fought that tooth and nail. And finally, though, now that we have President Trump, he was able to repeal the individual mandate. And again, the pre-existing conditions are very important to the president. We all know that.
And don't be fooled. The plan is Medicare for all. The plan is get rid of your private health insurance. The plan is government-controlled health care. That is what Joe Biden is going to have to push, advocate for, and accept, because that's what Bernie, AOC, and all of his closest advisor friends from the far left are telling him to do. And since he's clueless, senile, and very diminished, he is absolutely going to advocate for that extreme agenda that would get rid of thousands, if not millions, of private health insurances here in the state of Wisconsin, leaving you with no choice except a government-controlled healthcare system that would be destructive to our healthcare system in general.
They call it, or Bernie Sanders called it Medicare for all, but the implementation of Medicare for all is really Medicaid for all.
Right.
That's exactly what it would look like. So we really need to think about the impact of not showing up to vote, too, guys, and that's what's really important. We need everyone to turn out for President Trump, and your friends, your neighbors, your family members. So ladies, thank you so much for joining us this evening in the great state of Wisconsin. We'll be right back after this break.
Wisconsin. Thank you for having us.
I am here as your president to proclaim before the country and before the world, this monument will never be desecrated. These heroes will never be defaced. Their legacy will never ever be destroyed. Their achievements will never be forgotten, and Mount Rushmore will stand forever as an eternal tribute to our forefathers and to our freedom. We are the nation that gave rise to the Wright brothers, Harriet Tubman, George Patton, the great Louis Armstrong, Elvis Presley, Ella Fitzgerald. We settled the Wild West, won 2 world wars, landed American astronauts on the moon. Centuries from now, our legacy will be the cities we built, the champions we forged, the good that we did, and the monuments we created. America's destiny is in our sights. America's heroes are embedded in our hearts. America's future is in our hands. And ladies and gentlemen, the best is yet to come.
Trump Online. We are on the road to victory, Wisconsin, here with some of our amazing friends, Pam Bondi. We have our wonderful Mercedes Schlapp, and we have the amazing Penny Nance here in Wisconsin. And look, ladies, I want to get your final thoughts, but before I do, I know we're all having a great time here in Wisconsin, but I also want to show a video soon. But what I'd like to do now is to give a call to action to all of our wonderful viewers at home. So if you would like to get involved in the Trump campaign and stay in touch with us, text Trump to 88022. And if you would like to join the Women for Trump Coalition, text Empower to 88022 to get more involved, and download the Team Trump app. It's available right now on Apple iPhone, and Android. And if you would like to register for events, download the app and we can get you right here to one of these events, because this is a tour and we're going to be in a state near yours soon. Now, let's take a moment to get your final thoughts. Pam, let's start with you.
Well, from being in Wisconsin today, we know we are no longer the silent majority. We are the very loud majority, and thank you to all the great people of Wisconsin who are out there fighting for us, fighting for our country, our values, and our great president.
Penny?
I just want to say how great it's been here to be with these amazing women, all over state business leaders and women who just care about their country so deeply. And I'm just encouraged by all of you, but also just saying, multiply yourself. Call your friends, call your family, people in your church, make sure they're registered to vote, and then on election day, make sure they vote.
Mercedes.
Can I tell you how cool that pink big bus that we're in?
Right?
I mean, the Women for Trump, you can't miss it anywhere. If I were a Biden supporter, I'd be hiding in my basement. But really, I have to say, bringing my daughter, 13-year-old daughter, Alyssa, has been an incredible treat for both of us. It's been such a special time to spend with her. I have 5 daughters, so talk about women for Trump. I have the daughters for Trump.
Yeah.
And having the opportunity of having Alyssa come first here to Wisconsin is so important, because you all are the heart of America. You all understand why America is such a special and great country. And it is through you all that you will save America by getting this president reelected. So I want to thank you for your warm hospitality, having an opportunity to share this experience with my beautiful daughter, because I know that through Wisconsin, we will get to this road to victory for President Trump.
Yeah, speaking of Alyssa, she's turning out to be a fine young assistant also. So she's doing a great job. So with that, I would like to play a recap of our great Wisconsin trip, and before we leave you all this evening. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Mercedes Schlapp, Senior Advisor for the Trump-Pence campaign, and yes, we are on the Pink Women for Trump bus tour here in Wisconsin. We met with these great women small business owners who were talking about what the president has done to make sure that we're able to save their businesses during this tough time.
In this great country, you can come from nothing and build greatness and build a great small business and expand your businesses to other states. And that is the greatness of America.
Little lip gloss on top. Oh, look, I can use it.
That's why we have to get out there and fight for our families. If Joe Biden was elected, could you imagine what would happen in this country?
But ladies, I mean, you just need to understand, no matter where we go, it's always a room full of women when they bring in the top volunteers.
Headed to my favorite park, Cops and Canines.
Team Industries, wonderful corporation that's benefited greatly from President Trump's policies when it comes to lowering taxes, getting rid of job-killing regulations, and great trade deals that President Trump has been able to accomplish.
We want you to know that we stand with you, we support you. We're here to ensure that you all, as you did in 2016, will deliver victory for President Donald J. Trump.